We are at AALARA 2026, Staines Theme Park Live, the podcast, live from the trade show floor. And I'm with Thorsten from MACK RIDES. Hello.
Hello.
Thanks so much for joining me on this very special sort of podcast edition, talking to some amazing manufacturers. You're from MACK RIDES. You are known for some of the most amazing ride experiences in the world. How would you sum up MACK RIDES in 3 words?
Tradition, innovation, and we make people smart.
So innovation, tell us a bit about that, from, say, the first MACK RIDES coaster to what you're doing at Dollywood now. How important is that in the industry?
I think nowadays, especially with growing competition from also China now is coming, I think innovation and to be innovative, to be one step ahead of existing technology is the key factor for success. So therefore, innovation is the most important thing which we are thinking is the right approach.
And how does MACK RIDES embrace innovation?
You're looking to new ride technologies from other sectors. So our industry is, compared to whatever the automotive industry, relatively small. So we cannot spend billions for new technology, for new innovations, but we have to look offsite to see what kind of technology can be used within our applications. So I think that's the key to do. And then certainly customers approached us with stories they want to tell, and we think then about how can we, what will be the right system for that. And with our unique situation that we have a ride manufacturer, but also a theme park, Europa Park, so we have certainly a very good opportunity that we can also test and do rides in our own theme park.
How does that collaboration work? Can you tell us a bit about that process, from MACK RIDES to the park to the install to the first riders? What's that process like?
I think can be different, coming from different directions. So sometimes the park approached us. I want to tell this story. I want to use such IP. What would be the right ride system for that? And the other approach is that we have an idea from the ride manufacturer side saying, hey, this seems to be a cool idea. And then the park also look into that. How can I integrate it into my needs? So there is vice versa communication and exchange, certainly. I mean, it's very unique for us to also have to be a park operator. So we get best practice feedback instantly from our installation. So and try to incorporate that for future products we develop.
And speaking of future products, you introduced one, I think it was last year, Futuroscope, and you're introducing one this year in Dollywood, the same system. Can you tell us a bit about this picture behind us? What is it called? What does it do? And why is it so important for MACK RIDES?
So it's a rocking boat. That's the name of the ride. So we at MACK RIDES are famous for water rides. So there was a certain time in the last couple of years where we also did a lot on the coaster product side rather than on the water rides. So, and that it was time to do something on water, with water. So, and this ride system was created years ago, the idea of it, but then because of other demands, so we didn't really finally develop that. And so we put that idea back on the table a few years ago and developed it. So let's say this is you call it a hybrid ride. So it runs permanently on tracks. It can go dry, but also in the water. And the uniqueness is that the lower chassis is always engaged to track. So it's track guided, but the upper gas body can be disengaged by kind of a scissor system with 3 direction of motion. And therefore, when you are in the water, the boat is really free swimming. So you don't have any channel walls. And it can be perfectly synchronized with theming because it's always speed controlled. And I think one of these ideas created with that is that we implemented a rapid rafting section, whitewater section into that, which makes it really unique. So you have drops, dry drops, you have flume sections, you have rapid things, you have a vertical lift. So you have different unique elements in that ride, and it makes it really outstanding and very new, something new in that industry. And it was recognized by a lot of awards already. So we got the TIA award, we got, you know, the Golden Ticket Award for that ride system. So, and we are looking forward to open this ride, the second one in Dollywood, this summer.
Now, you were saying before you're an engineer. On a scale of 1 to 10, where does that rank on the engineering level of stress levels?
So the prototypical elements in the rocking boat were more than we typically do with a new design. So, and therefore there was quite a challenge on that. And therefore we also decided to build a little test track at our facility, which we not always do with new prototypes, but this one, we said, we're going to do that. So to test a few things. So, and therefore, I think from the complexity level, there were a lot of elements in there which we haven't had experience before. Therefore, it was one of the most, let's say, challenging developments we had. Besides Arthur Ride, which you may know,
yeah, no, Arthur,
was another prototypical thing which was very demanding. So it's always the level of new prototypical elements you include into a new idea.
Speaking of new ideas, what's that process like, and what's the pressure of always trying to think of the next thing? So you've done this model, just going into Dollywood. What's the pressure now to think of the next great thing for the theme park industry? What does that feel like? Being a leader, being an industry leader.
I think we still have a lot of ideas in our background. So, you know, talking about that, finding the right customer, but sometimes it's something which is created in-house, an idea, like the rocking boat was at the time. But sometimes also our customer approached us. So, and then the ideas is then developed and designed and finalized to fulfill his expectations. So it's a both-sided effort, you know, sometimes from the manufacturer, sometimes from our customers.
Well, you've got two world-class coasters here on the Gold Coast, DC RIVALS HYPERCOASTER at Movie World, Steel TAIPAN, which is just behind you, which is the blue, we were talking about Blue Fire just before. That's very close to your heart. Tell us why Blue Fire means so much to you.
Yeah, as you just mentioned this, I originally was also the engineering development manager or the head of development at MACK RIDES, and during that time, Blue Fire was open, so it was developed, and certainly this is one of them, my favorite ride, because it was a big step for our company, building the first ride with inversions and including a launch system and a Class 5 restraints, etc., etc. This was a big step for our company at the time.
Got Steel Taipan, and it's essentially Blue Fly with the half pipe element, and also the 360-degree spinning seat. Did Dreamworld come to you and say, we want something unique for this coaster, despite the half type and the 3-swing launch? Or is that go, we've got this spinning seat concept, we think it'll work here?
There was a basic concept existing, so we make some tries on Blue Fire with the concept on that. So, and Dreamworld had a lot of interest to provide a special seat with an upcharge ticket.
Yeah.
And therefore it was then, the idea was then developed. We introduced that to Dreamworld when they challenged us. Can we do something, you know, DC Rivals do backwards? Can we do something differently like that? So, and we had that concept created, but not engineered. So, and then together with Dreamworld, or for the Dreamworld project, it was then developed.
Could you put a spinning seat on DC Rivals?
Yes.
No, so that's
technically,
great.
Yes.
Yeah, technically, yes.
Yes.
Have you ridden the 360-degree spinning seat on Steel Taipan or previously?
I did it once.
Yeah? What did you think?
I'm too old for it, to be honest. So, I mean, it's for the enthusiasts. I mean, Have you done it?
I have done it.
So it's demanding.
I'm also getting too old for it as well.
So I mean, it's a good addition for those who are brave enough to do it, which is an inverted launch coaster, not enough. Then it's the right thing to do. And I think they're very successful with it.
Yeah, very much so. What about DC Rivals? An amazing coaster, the first hypercoaster in the Southern Hemisphere, over 60 meters tall. How do you rate that ride in sort of the catalogue of MACK rides?
I think at the time we built that, it was one of our highest rated rides. So it was actually the highest we've built so far at the time.
Yeah.
So we now have a 75-meter high at Thorpe Park. But it was, I mean, it's basically, the technology is based on a Blue Fire train, but without the launch system and the chain lift system inside of that.
Yeah.
But the trains and the seats are comparable. So it was a success for us, especially here in that market. We have that, and it was this non-inverted looping was the one of its kind at the time. So it has no inversion.
No,
right?
Feels like it though.
Feels like so, but it operates with a lot of airtime, which makes it
brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's a beautiful coaster. We are very fortunate to have both those rides here in our market at my home park. Where do you see are some gaps in our parks here on the Gold Coast, or do you think they're very well rounded? Do you see any gaps in our market that you think a ride system would fit really well in any of our parks here on the Gold Coast?
I think talking about the two big operators here at the Gold Coast. So I think you have a good mix on rides. I think a trend is now going also, we see that in Europe, driven by US, by Disney and Universal in particular, that we make the whole experience more immersive, that you include a queuing line into the story, etc., which Universal and Disney spend a fortune for doing that.
Yes.
But we do that now in our park as well, so that you have not put the ride itself as one unique element, so try to incorporate it in a whole story, kind of, before and after the ride, etc. I think this is things which are still subject to improve here, because especially Warner and SeaWorld operate with strong IPs.
Yes.
So that can be done. And I feel a little bit a lack of water rides in those parks. So at SeaWorld there's a little bit, the Storm water ride and some boat rides there, but really water-driven rides, and here the temperature, even in the winter, the climate is even in the winter relatively warm. So I think that is a good opportunity for water rides here. Talking about the rocking boat.
Yeah. Mate, I love one so bad. I'd love to see a rock and boat style attraction here on the coast. Where do you see, two-part question, where do you see MACK Rides in 5 years? And where do you see the amusement and theme park industry in 5 years?
So I think globally, as we are a global manufacturer, there are some challenges in the market. So Asia is going to be challenging. China had a big portion of our business before. That certainly is much less nowadays. And now with the geopolitical situation, the tariffs in the US, and now the Middle East,
doesn't get any easier.
Makes things quite challenging.
Yes.
But nevertheless, I think COVID proved that theme park is a business model which works.
Yes.
So we learned during COVID that having experience together, time together, is very important for human beings. And so therefore, I think theme parks in general have a great future in front of them, and with all the geopolitical challenges around that. So, and therefore, with that being said, there is always opportunity for our businesses, also for the suppliers. That's I think how the future looks like.
Well, thank you for some of the best rides on the Gold Coast that you've provided our theme parks. I cannot wait to see a rock and boat model come in anytime soon to either SeaWorld, WeWorld, Dreamworld. Throw it in a wet mod, I don't care. It can go wherever it needs to go, or down south at Luna Park in Sydney or Melbourne. But thank you for everything MACK Rides does. Thank you, Thorsten, for spending time with me at AALARA here on the Gold Coast. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.